How do you define writable properties in JavaScript? Imagine you're building a house and want some doors that can never be locked or changed. In JavaScript, writable properties are like those doors that can be opened or closed, but sometimes you want them fixed. When you work with objects, each property has different settings that control how it behaves. One of these settings is called writable. A writable property is one where you can change its value after you first set it. For example, if you create an object and add a property called name with the value Alice, making it writable means you can later change Alice to Bob or any other name. If you set the property to be not writable, then once it is set, trying to change it will do nothing or cause an error if you're in strict mode. You can define whether a property is writable or not using a special method called Object.defineProperty. This method takes three things: the object you want to add the property to, the name of the property, and a descriptor object that describes how the property behaves. Inside this descriptor, you set the writable attribute to true or false. For example, if you want to create a property that can be changed later, you set writable to true. Here's how it looks. You start with an empty object, then use Object.defineProperty to add a property called age with the value 30 and set writable to true. This means you can later change to 35 or any other number. On the other hand, if you want a property to stay the same forever, you set writable to false. This makes the property read-only. So, if you create a property called country with the value USA and set writable to false, trying to change country later will not work. It will stay as USA no matter what you do, unless you change the property descriptor itself, which is only possible if the property is configurable. Speaking of other attributes, properties also have enumerable and configurable. Enumerable controls if the property appears when you list all properties of an object. Configurable determines if you can change the property descriptor later or delete the property altogether. Understanding writable properties helps you control how your objects behave. If you're creating constants or want to protect certain data from being changed accidentally, setting writable to false is a good idea. If you want your object to be flexible and allow updates, then writable should be true. In summary, writable properties in JavaScript are defined by setting the writable attribute in a property descriptor, usually with Object.defineProperty. This gives you precise control over whether a property can be changed after it is created. Knowing how to set writable helps you manage object data more effectively and build more reliable code.